And we kind of made a coefficient, which is a sum across the 7 tissues that we examined. And here is the statistics. So we look at the correlation of telomerase activity versus maximum lifespan. And, well, you don't need a statistic actually to see that there is no correlation here. So next, we analyze correlation between telomerase activity and body mass. And here we were amazed because there was an extremely strong negative correlation between body mass and telomerase activity. So here I'm talking about average body mass for the species, not really individual variation in body mass, but as a species. And so meaning that larger species have lower telomerase activity. And these two data points are capybara and beaver, which are the two largest rodents. I should mention for evolutionary biologists in the audience that we performed the analysis both based on raw data and also on phylogenetically corrected data to make into consideration phylogenetic relationship within species. And the correlation is highly significant both for raw data and for phylogenetically independent contrast. Actually, the significance gets even better when we apply phylogenetic correction. So now, what does it all mean? How do we explain this correlation? So the way we think about it is that when animals evolve large body mass, so we go from a small animal, for example, to a larger one, their cancer risk goes up because now animal has more cells. And potentially every cell can mutate to produce a tumor, so overall risk is much greater. So now, in order to counteract this risk, large animals need better tumor suppressor mechanisms. So evolution, and that's where replicative senescence appears as an adaptation to increase cancer risk due to large body mass. So of course you will now think, well, lifespan increases cancer risk as well, just in a different way, and I'll come back to it in a few minutes. So now next, if we continue this line of thought, so far I showed you data on telomerase activity. And we kind of assume that if telomerase activity is low, then most likely cells of these species will display replicative senescence, but of course this had to be tested directly. So in order to test it, we isolated primary fibroblasts from 15 rodent species and examined their proliferation in culture. So first we done TRAP-assay to test if in the isolated fibroblasts we have or we don't have telomerase activity, and the results were pretty much consistent with the data we obtained looking at other tissues. So there were 4 species in which we detected no or very low telomerase activity, and then in all the other species there was pretty high telomerase activity in cultured fibroblasts. So now we look at their growth curves in culture. And we observe, so I should say right away, we observe 3 distinct patterns of cell proliferation. And I will go through them one by one. So the first pattern was replicative senescence. So we had 4 species that displayed replicative senescence, which is, so here we have human cells as a reference, so cells grow rapidly at first, and then they enter plateau and they senesce. So we observed 4 rodent species that display the same pattern of rapid growth followed by replicative senescence, and the species are beaver, capybara, porcupine, and paca. And you may notice that these are actually the largest rodents from the collection. So it is in a good agreement with our expectation from analyzing the telomerase activity. We also looked at telomere shortening in cultured fibroblasts of these species. So here, for example, so this is a result of TRF assay. So if you look at human fibroblasts, so when they're young, you see longer telomeres, and the signal kind of shifts down and wanes away as cells progress to senescence. And we observe very similar situation when we look at porcupine cells, so young versus senescent. Also beaver, we have young, middle-aged, and senescent cells, same for capybara. So the fibroblasts display telomere shortening in culture. And then to convince ourselves that we're actually looking at replicative senescence, we looked at the 2 markers of replicative senescence, P16 and P21. So of course it's a bit challenging to do Western blots on various species because antibodies that we can purchase, they're mostly made for mouse and human proteins, but we looked for antibodies that would show cross-species reactivity. So for P16, so here again human example as a reference, there is activation of P16 in senescent human fibroblasts. We observe similar activation in the beaver fibroblast, and we could see some activation in paca and porcupine. And I should say that P16 is one of the least conserved genes, so that's why you see different sizes of protein bands, but we confirmed them with two different antibodies to P16. We also looked at P21, so that's another protein that's activated in replicatively senescent cells. So we see activation of P21 in beaver, capybara, paca, and porcupine, so in all of them. And now when we do the statistics and we look at correlation between maximum lifespan and replicative senescence, so there is no difference, the groups overlap. However, if we analyze correlation between body mass and replicative senescence, so we have two separate groups, meaning that replicative senescence as assayed in culture also shows strong correlation with larger body mass of the species. So now, what we have so far is that in small-bodied species, both short and long-lived, we don't see replicative senescence, they express telomerase, and we don't see telomere shortening in cultured fibroblasts. And in the long-lived, in the large-bodied species, we observe replicative senescence. So of course, the question is, how do small long-lived species, like a squirrel, for example, that I showed you in the beginning, how do they protect themselves from cancer? Because as they live their long lives, they would also be exposed to perhaps high cancer risk. And here, let me show you the two remaining types of cell proliferation that we observed in cultured fibroblasts. So now we are looking at species that all express telomerase in high levels, and we don't see replicative senescence. These cells proliferate continuously. We grow them at 3% oxygen, so we don't observe any senescence here. But you can clearly see that there are two distinct groups based on the rate of proliferation. So we have fast-growing cells and we have slow-growing cells. And if you look at the species, the fast-proliferating group has mouse, rat, hamster, gerbil in it, and the slow-proliferating group, which is the most interesting, contains all the longer-lived species, naked mole rat, chipmunk, muskrat, chinchilla, and squirrel. So now, how do we explain that? So what we think is going on here is that cells from longer-lived species have certain cell cycle control mechanisms that restrict their proliferation in culture. Because actually, if we think about in vivo situations, fibroblasts in the tissues don't proliferate that much. But when we put fibroblasts in culture and we want to make them happy and growing, so what we do is apply fetal bovine serum, which is very rich with various growth factors. So we trick cells into proliferation when in fact they shouldn't be proliferating that much. So in a way, culture assay is kind of a tumorigenicity assay. And it's tumorigenicity test. So cells from short-lived species, they fail the test, they proliferate rapidly. But cells from these long-lived species, they can somehow resist the signal, the inappropriate signal for proliferation. So of course, we always had concerns, oh well, maybe there is just something in the culture conditions that we don't know exactly, how to culture these cells, and that's why they proliferate slower. Of course, that's highly unlikely because if you look what species fall into this group, they are not phylogenetically related, so it's kind of unlikely that for some reason all these cells need something very special in the media to make them happy. But of course, we wanted to be able to sleep well at night and kind of see that at least there are certain conditions where we can make these cells proliferate rapidly, and to be sure that our growth conditions are okay. And we decided to look at embryonic fibroblasts because all these experiments are performed with adult fibroblasts. And embryonic